Hello. Welcome back to this new episode of The Power of Youth. I'm your host, Enoch Wong. A question that I want to throw to our audience watching across all the different social media platforms is, what's so special about 2024 for you? I see an immediate response that Paris 2024, of course the Summer Olympics is happening, or I see leap year as well. It happens once every 4 years. Hopefully your birthday is not on a leap year on the 29th of February. I'm seeing another, possibly an audience who celebrate Chinese New Year, say the year of dragon, the year of long. It happened every 12 years. But let me tell you what excites me, because this year will be the biggest election year across the history. 4 billion, 1 in 2 people will be casting their votes in elections across over 60 countries around the world. To help us to understand a little bit more about youth perspective and how youth participation in this political process, we invited young people from across the world, and I'm going to let them to introduce themselves, to share with us what's their name, where they're from, and to complete this question. Their first presidential executive order would be.
Hey, my name is Nick. I'm from the US, and my first executive order would be to build a high-speed railway system in the United States.
Hi everyone, my name is Zuzana. I'm from Poland, and my first presidential executive order would be to guarantee housing for all.
Hi everyone, my name is Cici. I'm from Australia, and my executive order would be to stop all war.
Hi everyone, my name is Joseph. I'm from Croatia, and my first order would be free healthcare.
With power, it comes with responsibility. Hi, my name is Enoch Wong. I'm from Hong Kong, China. I will use my power to make sure every kid in every school to learn AI, to make AI a compulsory subject. And I have a feeling my next guest will be a great help. Pi, why don't you say hello?
Hey there, I'm Pi, your awesome AI sidekick for this fun adventure. Guess what? I think your super cool host, Enoch, snagged my brilliant idea first. But hey, I've got another trick up my sleeve. How about we create a youth advisory council packed with actual youth people? They'll have the power to shape policies and make sure the big decisions reflect what our generation really wants. Let's give youth the megaphone they deserve in government.
Cici, you had a funny look just now. You don't like having a megaphone and telling government what to do?
No, a youth advisory council is great. It invites young people to join on the conversation. But the thing is, when you separate young people like that into their own council, it's easy to drown their voices out collectively. So I think what we really need is for young people to be integrated into the real and big conversation.
So it's integrating youth voice across all conversation, right?
Yes.
When you divide them, it's easier to discredit and disregard youth voices.
Exactly, absolutely.
Nick, you had an interesting executive order, high-speed rail. Have you been on one recently in the US, and how does that compare to other countries?
In the US, no, but in China, I've been on one recently. In the US, I've
Where
been,
to where?
Recently in Guangdong province, from Shenzhen to Hong Kong, there's a really fast one.
In West County Station.
Yeah. Super fast, super convenient. In the US, I've only been on the slow ones. I recently saw that they built a higher speed railway, which means that it doesn't meet that criteria to be called high speed, but they do have some relatively high.
I will have to say the Americans are expert in languages and communication. But yes. But one thing that got me, because the reason why I mentioned this is because just recently, a few weeks ago, the Chinese government recently announced that going from Shanghai to Beijing in 2025 will take 2.5 hours.
Wow. That's fast.
That's 450 kilometers per hour. So that will be the higher speed rail.
Highest speed.
There is. But yes, so that's a little bit of fun. We have prepared for you a series of games, a series of interaction to explore this very, very interesting topic. And we'll now go into the first game. Let's check out the rules. Cool, so you got the idea. We polled 100 young people on social media across the world, asking them this following question. Which quality is a deal breaker in presidential candidates? I'm sure there's a lot to consider, right, when casting that important vote. But what is a deal breaker? Let's check out what our guests think would be the popular response. All right, 3, 2, 1. Okay, the first person is Susanna, you look like you're hitting and Susanna, yes.
Dishonesty.
Dishonesty.
Yeah.
It seems like you have a distaste for dishonesty.
Yeah. So I would like them to be transparent.
Because I think that's the last thing that we can ask, right?
Yeah.
From a politician. Action, execution, making promise, that's one thing, but dishonesty, very, very important. Let's see if this is one of the top answers. Oh, wow. 20 out of 100 people think dishonesty, and particularly dishonesty and corruption, is a very, very important one. And politicians usually make news headlines because of that. Next person is Cici.
Ooh, blatant discrimination.
Blatant discrimination. Discrimination in a form that I guess would create negative emotions for a certain group of people, right?
Exactly.
And this idea of divisiveness is horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible. And to gain votes a lot of times, right? Let's see if this is one of the top answers. Oh, not bad.
Not
16
bad.
points. 16
Yeah.
points. 16 out of 100 people think negativity and divisiveness is one of the deal breaker. Next person is Nick. What do you think?
I would say personal wealth.
Personal wealth. Personal wealth. In what way?
And I mean, if the person has a lot of money from their background, from whatever work they were doing in the past, it might influence their policies.
But also at the same time, it makes them very easy to be out of touch.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right,
sure.
with the
No,
general
definitely.
population.
Definitely.
And it find it, they might say out loud they're relating to the citizen,
Yes,
but it's
yes.
very, very difficult when you live a completely different life.
Yeah.
You walk, you go to places in completely different format as well.
Definitely.
Let's see if this unrelatability, this background aspect influence young people.
Not bad.
It's
Close
not
enough.
bad, not bad. We still have a couple of response back. So now we move to you, Joseph. I know you're eager to get some score on the board.
Yeah, well, I would say lack of experience, maybe lack of education, something like that could be a really important
Experience
thing to consider.
in what way?
Well, maybe in politics or something else about governing.
For you, it's important that they have some kind of form of political experience.
Yes, definitely.
Well, imagine some leadership experience would help as well.
Definitely, I
To
believe.
shape the vision
Yeah,
of the future, because
yeah.
it's important that a lot
Definitely.
of times vision is, experience inform
Yeah.
the vision and the future of the world that this politician wants to see. Let's see if this is one of the top answers.
Oh, nice.
The second spot is still available. 15 points for you, Joseph. Congratulations. Now we go back to you, Susanna. What do you think?
Perhaps physical appeal.
Physical appeal?
Yeah.
That's like going directly to discrimination over there.
Yeah.
But
We can
but
discriminate
it's
them, they
important
can't
because a lot
discriminate
of times, I would imagine a lot of people don't have enough time to understand every details in manifesto. They do judge a book by its cover sometimes, unfortunately.
And I feel like young people are used to sort of having idols, even like celebrities, so they focus on looks sometimes. So I think that could be sort of maybe related.
And it gives them the first impression.
Yeah,
Yes,
first
very
First
impression.
impression
Yeah.
counts. Let's see if this is one of the top answers. I have a strong feeling it is, but
Yeah.
they're too afraid to say out loud. Okay, so let's move to next person. Cici, what do you think?
Ooh, I think being rude. Just being rude to, especially if they're rude to like people who are in the service industry, I think that says a lot about their character.
Being rude and
That's
and
interesting.
talk more about character. What other characteristic that is a turn off for you?
Ooh,
Being rude
being
and
rude, just thinking that they're so self-important and that thinking that what they're doing is heroic and not listening to what the people want and being relatable
and sometimes
in that
pretend
way.
to listen as well. This is
Exactly.
the worst thing.
Oh,
It's not
yes.
dishonest, but
Pretentious.
and the idea that I pretend I'm listening, but I'm
Yeah,
really
but
not.
really-
There's this inauthentic
So full of
aspect
yourself, exactly.
of this. Let's see if this is one of the top answers.
Yeah.
Oh, you did get. Did you get a first spot as well? So inauthenticity is one of them. I think there's another point about consistency, about this flip-flop idea, right? I think young people sometimes are tired of that.
That's right.
Because when you try to catch
They
up
are.
what they stand for, try to understand what their platform is, and sometimes they flip-flop, and that comes from integrity and characteristic as well. I
Absolutely.
think one of the last answers on the board. Nick, what do you think?
Could personality be like already
I
fit
think
in one
that's
of
too
the
broad.
ones?
I think personality is a little bit too broad.
We did relatable. I would say age
Age?
Age?
Can we do
I
that?
think age was in unrelatability.
included. Oh,
Yeah.
okay,
Oh,
okay.
really?
We try to group them together. I know it's slightly different.
I mean, their views like ideology or belief system.
Okay,
Values.
tell me more. What do you mean by belief in I?
There are many different ways to define that. For example, political ideology is a belief
Yeah.
system, but also religion.
So in recently, I think young people tend to, there's a lot of this, in order to capture attention, they will go to the extreme of different positioning. Is that something what you meant as well? Or?
That could definitely be a part of it. Yeah.
Well, then let's see if this is one
Okay.
of the top answers.
Okay.
That was
Age
before.
and
Okay.
Alright.
So that I think the team will give you the age on this one, and then let's move on to Joseph then.
Yeah, well, I'm not much left with many options, but I can maybe say bad policies.
Bad policy.
Yeah, a precise answer.
Yes.
Bad policy. In what way it is bad
That
for you?
those policies doesn't benefit the young people, or they force them to do something that they don't want to do. For example, mandatory military practice. I think that's a hot topic now, at least in my country, and I see a lot of other countries. And I think that's definitely something that makes the young people angry. We have no time to, I don't know, practice, war preparation or something. We have, I don't know.
So sometimes
study.
it might seem unrealistic.
Yeah.
What they're proposing.
Yeah.
It's only from their own perspective,
Yeah.
but not considering what
Yeah,
young
I
people
believe
think.
what they propose is just to satisfy maybe another group of people, but this doesn't benefit the young people. Well, I
Let's
think-
see if
Good
this is
answer.
one of the top answers.
Ooh.
Oh, actually, we
okay.
have a double 11. So
Okay.
there's two group of 11 people feel like this is something of a turnoff. So those are very, very interesting answers, but we didn't do that. But if I were to ask the same question, let's say to your parents' generation, right? They're what I think
Yeah.
people call baby boomers,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
In the post-war era.
Yeah.
How do you think that would differ? Cici, I want to go to you
Ooh.
first.
Yeah, so my parents, well, they're immigrants. Like being an immigrant in Australia, they would focus a lot on discrimination. Like I said before, I think that's more than ever more important to them because
They focus a lot on policy, actual
Exactly.
thing that benefit them.
exactly, and maybe
right?
not the person, yeah, but because that's
And that's quite important population in countries such as Australia.
exactly
as
like
well.
a very multicultural.
So I want to
that's
ask
right.
you, Susanna, do you think policy matter for the parents' generation, or does something else matter more?
Policy matters, but in case of Poland, religion is also quite important, especially for the older generations. They are still quite traditional, and they really, value that the person is sort of perhaps the same religion as them and has the same values attached to
What are
that.
some of the traditional values that you see is different from the parents or from the youth generation?
I guess maybe the parents would care if the person is married, if they have children, if they have family, if they are sort of like established. Whereas with the young people, they don't really care about the person's personal background as much.
This perfect photo op where you have your family, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Where you have, your partner sort of standing behind you and
Children.
having kids, right? Joseph, what do you think?
Well, I believe my parents would always go to somebody who is more experienced. So for an older candidate, because like Croatia 30 years ago, we had a war. So I think for my parents' generation, they always like to have a leader who is more strong, experienced, and can lead them.
Does it work
towards
for young people as well, having more old and experienced?
I think we young people got tired of that. We probably think about how to find a good job, housing, healthcare.
But for your parents, it's important that we have a mature, older, possibly you mentioned experience, which is a
Yes.
very important part of it.
Yep.
Possibly someone known, I would imagine, someone known, someone famous.
Definitely.
Credibility is the key.
No matter how good you are at education or something, if you're young and not that well known, I don't think you will get their votes.
Well, obviously in the US, overnight success and being overnight famous, sometimes it just takes a simple viral video, right? What do you think? When you ask your parents' generation, would it be different to the deal breaker quality?
I think it would, yeah, definitely. I mean, in those times, political correctness was not as big, so they would probably look at, race, religion, age as more standout features. But also, given the sort of Cold War environment at the time, they would probably be very fearful of someone bringing in ideas from from abroad, for example. I think.
So the idea of ideology means a lot
Ideology.
more.
Yeah.
I think in today's world, when people talk a little bit more about this, where in the olden days, this is not as important.
Yeah, definitely.
There's so many different things that we can talk
Yeah,
about, the
that's true.
differences. And I think that's why we're here, to also hear about Gen Zs and young people, how they think about the political process. But with this in mind, we are not keeping score, but yes, we are keeping score. So let's check out the score that we have from our left to right. So Joseph, congratulations with 26 points.
Oh, nice.
That's not too bad.
Yeah.
And CC with 33 points.
Ooh.
Not too bad. 20 points for Susanna and 23 points for Nick. Congratulations. This is only the first round. There's another round
okay.
coming with this. But we do have an extra opportunity, I think, yes, for you, CC,
Oh
to
my
win an
goodness.
extra prize.
Let's go.
How do you feel about this?
Ooh,
You ready?
nervous? I hope so, but probably not.
The rules on our screen will probably help you to get ready. Let's check out the
Okay.
rules. Cool. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to ask you 6 questions.
Okay.
But if you get them wrong, since it's a discussion, I'm going to get some help here
Okay,
as well.
okay.
But I'm going to give you some extra help. There's some
Okay.
hints
Yep.
on the video that I'm going to show you. So watch out, pay attention to the screen. This is a clip that I want to show you. Cool. So we're going to play a game. It's a
Hey.
segment which is I'm going to call Knock Knock.
Yep.
Who's there?
We just did this. But yeah, I know. So I'm going to show you 6 pictures.
Okay.
They are politicians and leaders.
Yep.
And all you have to do is guess where they're from and what position they're holding in their country.
Ooh.
Good? Good to go?
Jail,
Okay,
jail.
good. Can I ask for help?
Definitely.
If you get them wrong, but if you do get them wrong, there's a chill at the back with some ice cold machine. So this is the first person. 5,
Oh,
4, 3.
Spain.
Spain, no,
Spain,
no, it's
answer.
not. It's
Oh.
incorrect. So okay, so to our guess, where this person is from?
UK?
I'm sorry.
UK?
UK, and this person is
MP.
MP. One very special thing is guess how old is he?
32.
He looks really young.
13, 19, somewhere in the middle. He's 25 years old. He's
Wow.
actually currently the youngest serving MP in the UK.
Wow.
But another person very similar. She's also an MP, but she got elected when she was, guess how old?
18.
Very, very close.
Ooh.
20.
Wow.
20. Oh,
She was,
Really
she
young.
was the youngest
Amazing.
elected MP in the UK. But this is not
Wow.
the second question.
Yeah, that's Australia. He's a senator from the Australian
You're from
Greens.
Australia, of course, you
Yeah.
know,
Okay.
from Western Australia.
Yes.
There's something also very special. Do you know how old is he?
He's like 30. 30?
he's
20, 25. 25.
oh, 29 years old. He's
Ooh,
born in
okay, it was in the
1994, right?
Wow.
A little bit older than you.
Okay.
But he was elected at 23 years old.
That's amazing.
Also very, very young.
Yeah.
He speaks very vocally for disability.
Yes.
He's
Oh,
great
for
advocate for
disability.
disability
Yes.
benefits as well.
That's
Very,
brilliant.
very important. Next person, very relatively well known
Ooh.
in another continent.
In another continent.
3, 2, 1.
Italy. Oh, the
Oh,
U.S.
yes,
oh,
it's
yeah,
in the
I've seen
US.
her. Yes,
And-
I know her.
Okay,
Yes,
so I'm going to
Alexandra.
turn to our guest.
Yes, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
AOC.
AOC.
Yeah, not far
Yeah,
from me.
AOC, yeah.
So he's a
from the
congresswoman,
U-
right?
yeah.
Congresswoman. She's currently a little bit older, still very, very young,
Yeah.
at 34 years old, but she was elected at 29, being the youngest woman in the US Congress and
Yeah.
also the youngest Latina
Yeah.
elected as well. Very, very vocal, very good with young people as well. Good? Okay, next.
That's Spain. He's MP.
It's not Spain.
No.
I'm gonna give you one more chance and then
Ooh. France.
yes, France. And he's
He's Prime Minister.
yes,
Yeah.
he's the Prime
Yeah,
Minister
yeah.
of France. And do you know how old is he?
He's 34.
Yes.
Yeah.
It put a lot of people in doubt about their career when you sit in the second highest office of France, right?
Yeah.
At 34 years old.
Yeah.
Nice. This person was also in the video just now.
Yeah. Is it India?
No. This is really bad that we're stereotyping faces now.
No, I know exactly. You're putting me on the spot.
Chile.
There's something special about this person.
He's the president, and his origins are like from Croatia, so that's why he's well known.
That too, but I was also going to say, he shared the same first name as the French Prime Minister, also called Gabriel.
Really?
There's
I
something
saw
that
the
found out.
video. I can't
Okay.
believe
And he's the
myself.
youngest
I'm so
president
sorry.
in Chile, and
Yeah.
also one of the youngest state leader across the whole entire world. This person.
So that's Saudi Arabia.
Yes.
Yeah. He's a prince or
He's a crown prince and the
Yeah,
prime minister.
Prime minister.
Also very, very young at 38 years old.
Yeah.
So this is it. I think you get over 4, right? So our team will give you the special prize on this. But hold on a second. Pi, our AI assistant, have a little comments that he want to make.
Is the rise of young leaders shaking up global and domestic politics? Do they really get what young folks want? Let's ask our guest. Can these youthful faces in power truly vibe with the younger crowd and make more young people care about politics and participate and engage in politics?
Before we dive into discussion, whether young politician better engage young people and get young people, I'm going to put you into perspective in some visuals. So this is presidential candidates, right, hopeful in the United States. And they are how old? Do you know?
Yeah, so Joe Biden's turning 82.
Yes.
And then Donald Trump is 77.
Yes, with the youngest just now, the crown prince
Yeah.
of Saudi Arabia, the prime minister, 38, literally double the age.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's dive into the question. So Joseph, what do you think? Do younger politicians better engage younger crowd?
Well, I think the older ones do.
Because you mentioned
Yeah.
people need more
Some
experience.
Yeah, I think in case for my country, we would always prefer somebody a little bit older, especially for the presidential position, because then he can have a broader view of the problems that we are facing, so he can solve it.
And more importantly, if I understand correctly, is that having good relationship with neighboring
It's
countries
really important,
is very, very
especially
important.
in Europe. Everybody is like
very,
so
very,
small,
because
right?
it's landlocked,
Very true.
right?
Yeah.
You do need to have very good relationship.
Yeah.
It comes with time. It comes with experiences. What other people think? Susanna, what do you think? You were glazing at one of the politicians just now.
Yeah, so we talked about previously how in Saudi Arabia the prince is quite popular because he's very charismatic and young people really sort of almost idolize him because he brought in.
I'm trying to connect with what you mentioned by look, but yes, go on.
Yeah. He's
He's good looking
good
as well.
looking.
It helps.
It helps, I
But
think.
he also has a very grand vision for
Yeah.
the region and for his
Yeah,
country
he
too.
has a very promising, outgoing vision for Saudi Arabia. So I think that kind of inspires young people and makes them sort of look forward and makes them want to stay in the country. So I think that's important.
So Cici mentioned about youth council and dividing young people into
Yeah.
groups. So I want to ask Nick very, very quickly. What do you think? Because youth voices are very vocal
Yeah.
in the United States and asking for what they want, right? The different views. What do you think? Can they
Yeah.
better connect like AOC?
To be honest, I don't think youth or young people can be considered one demographic group because they don't all share the same views. For example, I don't get along with all young people just because we're young.
Yeah.
And so I don't think I would get along, or I don't think I would be more inclined to support a young politician just because they're young. I think there are other factors that are much, much more important.
Yeah, I agree.
I think, Pai, your proposal of executive order has been challenged once again. But you say you agree. Tell us more. What do you mean by this?
I think for me, the economic background and class is very important. Someone can be young, but they can come from a privileged position, which most young people can't relate to in the world. So I think them being relatable in that sort of manner when they come from somewhere, maybe not as privileged would be more
So
important.
categorizing people by the numbers and by the age is a very, very lazy way
Yeah.
I think
to
so,
categorize young people.
Yeah.
This is very,
Very
very
important.
interesting indeed. But we do have another poll that I want to show you. We also surveyed another 100 young people on this following question. But let's check out the rules for this round. are doing pretty well on the scoreboard, but
Thank you.
things might change quite drastically. As we saw on the rule, this round, all the points will be worth 3 times, right?
Wow.
And this
Oh, nice.
is also the final round as well. So the question is, we asked 100 young people across the world this following question. What is the #1 policy topic you want presidential candidates to address? Right? There's a lot of issues. What do you think is the most popular one? All right? 3, 2, 1. Okay, the first person is Joseph.
Oh, I will go with economy.
Economy.
Yeah.
Anything specific that you want them to address?
Well, employment, housing, that I think is really important for young people because now the economy, I think, everywhere is really bad.
Because it's related to standard of living, the
Yeah.
livelihood of people, right? Very, very important. Let's see, economy, and you mentioned employment as well, is in one of the top answers.
Hey, good answer.
nice.
Did you see my answers?
Maybe,
18
maybe.
points. So 18 out of 100 people think economy and employment is a very, very important issue people need to address. And,
Yeah.
and of course, there's different turbulence of economy and getting jobs out of school. Hopefully you guys will not be a problem at
Well,
all.
maybe we'll be prime ministers.
Yeah, 34, right? Not too bad. But yes, a very, very important issue. Next person is Cici.
Ooh, I would say climate change.
Climate change.
Absolutely.
So obviously climate change and biodiversity as well in
It's-
Australia.
Oh, in Australia, that's
Yeah.
Very, very
important.
big
Yeah.
issues. And
Yeah.
and I imagine the young people care a lot
Yes.
about this.
Yeah, I mean, it seems just a lot more imminent to us.
Is it more towards economy or is it just preserving the environment? What do you think?
Well, it's impossible not to also impact the economy, especially in the long term. But it's more about just our world and our community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, the biodiversity is a part of the community that we live
Exactly.
in.
Yeah,
And
we all
many
share it,
scientists
yeah.
have done research saying that lack thereof some parts of the biodiversity, the whole community will fall apart.
Exactly.
Let's see if this is one of the top policy issues that want to be addressed.
Hey.
Oh, nice.
We're going down in order now. Okay, so the next person is Nick. You're next.
Okay, I would say foreign policy and especially defense funding.
Oh,
Because those two separate
There's a lot of nods
Or-
here. We'll
Yeah.
definitely talk a little bit more about the foreign policy,
Okay.
but particularly
Yeah.
in terms of security, defense, and peace, right? Is
Interesting.
this one of the top issues that want to be talked about? Oh,
Okay.
it is.
Yeah,
It
it
is
is.
up there.
Missing
But it's
security.
quite taboo sometimes, right? But I think increasingly not so among
Yeah.
young because it's increasingly in
Polarizing.
proximity.
yeah, every country
of
does
impact,
it now, yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, Susanna,
Housing.
housing.
Yeah. I
Housing,
think-
having a roof over your top.
Yeah, I think
very,
that's
very important.
key. Yeah.
Is this similar to having a good economy? Does it mean you will have enough money to buy housing, or is it different?
I think it does, but I think also it's important that the government is a bit more proactive in this. So when people can't buy a house, I would hope that there will be some sort of scheme or
Social
help.
welfare.
Yeah,
that
social
help
welfare.
with
Yeah.
that as
yeah,
well.
yeah.
Let's see if social welfare is
answer.
one of the top answer. Housing, social welfare, shelter.
Nice.
Oh, it is.
Congratulations.
They're quite close in score as you see, right? 15
Yeah.
people. So let's go back to Joseph. What do you think?
Yes?
What do you think is the top policy issues that you want a presidential or young
Yeah.
people want presidential
Well, we
candidates?
mentioned a lot of things that I think we can all agree, but maybe now it can be something like mandatory military service.
I
or
think it's
something like
somewhat
that.
similar. I think it's
Yeah.
categorized in the security
Yes.
and defense aspect. And any other answer?
I cannot think of one. Can you help me a bit?
I'm gonna help you by counting down by 3, 2, 1.
Corruption.
Corruption. Okay, I'm gonna make a split decision and give you and see if corruption is part of the answer. It is. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
okay.
Oh, lucky.
How we have another 11 as well for December. So corruption and accountability, something is
Yeah.
very, very important, right? I think it got to do with some of the a deal breaker that we also
Yeah,
spoke
that's
about
true.
earlier as well. Cici, what do you think?
Yeah, education.
Education.
Like access to education.
Equal access
equal-
and
yes.
education equity is also
Yes.
very important as well.
Yeah.
And it's one of the sustainable development goals that we
Yeah.
hope to achieve by
It's what-
2030.
It's what progress is made of.
And that's how we define sustainability. Let's see if education is one of the top answers. Oh, it is.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
One more left. Nick, let's see if you can get this.
Pressure's on. So I'm going to assume that most of our respondents are not in China and say crime and drugs and things like that.
Crimes, drugs.
Can we group it together in some kind of...
Because
like,
I would imagine somewhat related to security. I don't know.
yeah,
I'm going to give you another
security.
chance to see if you would change your mind. You can stick with it.
Ooh,
I'm going to give you 3 seconds to help. 3,
most of the big ones. Oh, equal rights.
equal rights.
perfect.
Rights, right?
Rights,
I think
rights,
that's
rights.
also a very, very important aspect. And justice is a
Yeah.
word that I think young people really get. Social
Yeah.
justice.
Yeah.
Justice.
Yeah.
Rights, but also talk about equity, right?
Yeah.
You talk about discrimination
Yeah.
and other issues. Something very, very important. Let's
Yeah.
see if we can get a full house
Okay, let's see.
and get all the answers this time around. It is.
Your 3
job.
seconds are really
Congratulations.
helpful.
Congratulations. So hopefully this is a little bit of fun. I know in front of you there's some yes and no plaque. We'll dive a little bit deeper. Don't worry about the score for now.
Very high score.
We got a few questions we want to get through in the final 10 minutes or so to get your perspective into this. So I'm going to ask you, so when you talk about electing a government, right, election, particularly in the West, but also across the world, they talk about small government, big government. They talk about leaving the
Yeah.
future to the markets and individual, or should government intervene, right? Particularly with economy,
Yeah.
very, very important. Shelter,
Yeah,
housing,
housing, yeah.
also very, very
Healthcare,
important.
yeah.
A lot of very important issues. Sometimes, yes, you can take responsibility, but we also have some expectation for government. Yes or no? Yes, it should be a responsibility of individual and the markets. No, we should let government intervene where they should. Yes or no? Have a show of hand. No. So government should intervene at all costs. Susanna, tell us, why do you think this way?
Because I think we have seen throughout the recent times in history that free market only works for the select few. It doesn't really work for the general population. And I think the government should take more responsibility in making sure that people are living a dignified life.
And of course, with this in mind, it will only benefit a few when we just let market take its run,
Yeah.
right? And then government are elected to do things that possibly the market aren't able to regulate themselves.
Yeah.
We were speaking earlier, Cici.
Yeah.
I think you pay a lot of attention to the indigenous
Yeah, I mean,
population. And is this why you think that leaving the population on its own, it might not naturally progress? We
Yeah.
need government intervention. Tell us more.
Yeah, I mean, like the gap between the indigenous population in Australia and the rest of Australians is unacceptable. It's there. It's been there for centuries, and obviously, and nothing's changed that much because it's about who is in power. Obviously, in economics, we talk about the government as an invisible hand. It can make outcomes better. It can make market outcomes better, but it can also make the well-being
let's say
better.
it have an impact.
Exactly.
Whether it's better is to see. But
Yeah.
giving them a voice, that's one of
It's
them.
giving them the strength that they need
And having policy
to be
in
able
place.
to be able to break out of cycles
Yeah,
that they're
because
stuck
different parts of, as you mentioned, different parts of the population have different needs. And we need government intervention, right, to tailor towards that needs. So we're going to move on. I know it's similar views, so I'm going to move on a little bit to another interesting topic, I hope. Pi will ask the question on behalf of me.
Okay. This is fun. Let me ask one too. I see all of our guests are Gen Zs from high-income developed economies. I am curious, in this context, would you prefer your leaders talk more about domestic issues than global issues? So, what's it gonna be? Do we zoom in or do we zoom out?
So yes, zooming in, domestic issues is a yes. Zooming out, right? Talking about global issues as a no, yes or no? Domestic or global? Yes, no. Okay, so yes, no. So I'm going to jump to you first because you mentioned about global issues in the questioning round, right? Tell us more. Why do you think, because I would see the reality is slightly different, right? America first. Right, and solving, because there is a lot of issues. You mentioned about drug, about crime, right, about gun control. There's a lot of domestic issues. Why do you think leaders should talk more about global issues while they cannot resolve issues at home?
Well, I think in the case of the U.S., which is where I'm from, and that obviously influences the way I think about these issues. Many of the, or at least as far as I know, all of the candidates who run for president, they run on a platform of domestic policy, but mostly, regardless of their party, they have a pretty consistent foreign policy. And so I think that should also be part of the debate that we're having as to who we want.
By not
to elect.
addressing it, we're not inviting the public to engage in that conversation.
Exactly.
Right?
These are questions that we assume, okay, they'll just handle it. We don't have to deal with that ourselves. We'll just deal with the domestic things and let the government handle foreign policy. And I don't think that it should be that way.
Because we should not pick and choose different parts of democracy, right? It should be the whole entire democratic
And
process.
Arguably, foreign policy is more impactful to our day-to-day lives considering how much of our federal budget goes to...
Yes, and nowadays as well, going
Yes.
into conflict and arms, something
Yeah.
that you talk about. Is that why you think that way? And
Yeah.
because we also spoke about the role of EU, of
Yeah.
course, in European
Yeah.
countries as well. So I'm going to ask you first, and I'm going to ask you because you have different perspective. Yes.
Well, I believe that a lot of problems can be solved if our foreign policy is better, because now every country is connected. So if you have good foreign policy, that can also solve a lot of economical issues and develop your country a little bit better. But I think if you forget about our foreign policy, it can only make a lot of problems, and we'll probably lag behind other countries.
And of course, it's a very big election in the European
Yeah.
Parliament this year as well. And that would decide the fate of different countries as well. In general, are you happy with the progress of EU involvement and having Croatia being a part of EU?
Well, a lot was promised for us before joining EU, but now when we joined, I cannot say I'm that much happy with it. I think for education it's probably good, but now, in recently years, I'm not much happy with the European Union, especially the foreign policy of the European Union is really bad.
So this is why we need politicians to talk more, to address this. So there's a public forum in discussion
Yeah.
about this. Susanna, what do you think?
I think I'm sort of in the middle, so I agree with Nick, but in terms that the sort of role in America on the international stage is different. They almost made themselves carry that responsibility, so I do think they should take it. In case of Poland, I think we sort of need to work out a lot of our domestic issues first to be able to take that responsibility. However, at the same time, because of the way we are involved in the global system and the economy, we should also take some of that responsibility because we are also involved in a lot of international organizations. So I think it's important that we take a sort of the consequences for our actions as well.
Okay, I think this is a very, very important consideration to have. We're going to move to the last discussion. I'm going to start with you with the response on the last one. So the last question is, yes, it is objectively the biggest election year in the history. But when I look in the media headline, it say 2024 is a test for democracy. Right? Even with a Nobel laureate saying that, giving a warning and say, we will know whether democracy lives or dies by the end of 2024. This year, elections could shape the future of a political system globally. Let's see if we agree or not. Yes, we agree with the statement. No, we disagree with the statement. Let's see, yes or no. No, 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 no. Okay. So as promised, I'll go to you first and see if there's any additional comments and we wrap up.
So while this is a very significant year in terms of politics due to all the elections, I don't think that the fate of democracy lies within this year or with the outcome of these elections. Just because elections is one way for us to participate politically, but there are also so many other ways in that. And also, I don't think democracy is so fragile a system or structure that
So you have belief in democracy.
That it will just crumble within this year. I don't believe that.
So what I'm hearing is that election is only a part of the democratic process.
Yes.
It's not the end, or it's not the only process of democracy.
That's right.
That's very, very good point made. Nick, what do you think?
Well, I say no, again, based on my US background. I feel that most things change gradually over time due to structural changes in the system, but not so much due to elections. I feel like it's more of a superficial change. And so this is in the US context. However, that being said, I think in other countries, elections do really matter, and the outcome of an election, who becomes president, really can affect the people there.
But at the same time, haven't we heard news talking about how even with a change of party, some of the policies just continue?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, in the
So
US,
does election really doesn't matter? Is this opposition party really working? This idea of
Right,
having
so
opposition, different perspective.
I'll answer your question with a quote
Okay.
from the Tanzanian
I
president.
thought you
former
said by
president.
me, but yes, okay.
But basically, he's saying that the U.S. government is effectively just a single party, but in true American extravagance, they have two of them. So basically, they just two of the same.
And would you agree with the statement as well in some way? Or do young
It's a
people?
simplification, but essentially, in this kind of discussion, it's kind of true.
Right. And any other comments you want to add before we wrap up?
I would just want to say that I agree with my colleagues and that nothing much will change, but
So,
this is only a
what
part
I'm
of
hearing
change.
is that I think we don't want to connect directly election to democracy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Election outcome, yes, it matters, but it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
There's a lot more towards this. So therefore, and when throughout the show, we have heard the importance of youth engagement. So I'm going to ask you to wrap up with this final question. What advices and recommendations you would give to your politician or government to better engage young people, not in election only, but throughout the democratic process? Does that make sense? Yeah. But before this, let's check out the final score. So the final score that we have, congratulations, Susanna, with 65 points coming forth. And Nick with 104 points. I think the last one really boosts up as well.
Nice. Yeah,
Coming
yeah.
third. Congratulations. And Joseph, 113 points. Congratulations. That's a huge bump up.
Bigger
Yeah,
progress.
yeah.
Congratulations. And Cici coming number one with 120 points.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Although this isn't a contest, but
It is a contest, and your prize is to go first. What recommendation and advices you have to better engage young people throughout the whole entire process?
I would say be the one that is proactive instead of young people having to be the ones that are proactive and reaching out. I would say please just
This open door policy doesn't just
Yes.
you can't just have an open door policy.
exactly.
You have to proactively go.
You can't wait for them to come to you. Like please make it accessible to everyone, and that's how you get like a real representative sample of youth voices.
Very, very important. So let's go around this way.
Okay, I'll just make it quick. To the young people, be proactive. But for the government, do the first step. Take the initiative.
Yeah.
Ask the young people. Don't let the young people come to you.
Polling is a
Polling,
pilot
yeah.
thing. To kind of sort of understand the
See the
temperature
opinions, yeah.
of the citizens.
Just
right?
like we did now with the game.
Yeah, and polling is a great way to evaluate the progress, right? We don't need to wait every 4 years for the
Yeah.
results, right? Great. Nick, what do you think?
Actually, I think we could use technology to analyze the sentiment of youth through social media. So instead of going out door to door on the streets and gathering 100 responses a day, you can use big data and use machine learning to analyze.
So this idea of I'm not tech savvy is not good enough, right? And being able to maximize the technology and tools that we have in hand in order to facilitate the democratic process. Susanna, I'm going to leave you with the last word.
I would just simply say listen even when it makes you uncomfortable. Yeah. It's a
So
good one.
listen for different perspectives.
Yeah.
This is very, very important. And usually a lot of those happen on the ground.
Yeah.
Right? You can't sit at the office, having different community events, etc.
Yeah, actually go out to the people and engage with them, not only for PR opportunities, but for actual connections.
And be able to find common needs, right?
Yeah.
Of different community across your constituents and your population.
Yeah.
So this almost is over. This episode is called Gen Z Rising Beyond Ballots. If I were to give any advice, is that we have to rise beyond the simplistic labeling. I think there's a lot of labeling going on in election, right? Democratic, authoritarian, etc. I think we also have to rise beyond campaigning. Yes, words matter, but actions speak louder.
Yeah.
As we have all heard from our young people,
Exactly.
making the first step, being the role example is very, very important. Last but not least, we have to rise beyond the popularity context of 51%.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And a lot of times it happens, and we should do more. Because yes, although 51% is enough to win you the election, but we have to serve all people, not just young people, but all people. We have to leave no one behind, but not ending up leaving 49% behind. We have a very, very interesting, fruitful discussion. Hopefully you would agree.
Yeah.
There's no one form of democracy. Democracy works when it works. And it have to include different contexts and environment and history into part of it. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did, and you guys too. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next episode of The Power of Youth. Thank you so much. Goodbye for now.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.